only way we know how. He still has his phone vertically instead of perpendicular. But it's just a rite of passage that we got to let him know because we want to see the whole damn thing. It's the one and only number 62, Ian Beckles. Bro, the style, the swag, the drip that you have every Monday. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great way to start off the program.
Well, I just fall into this. This it's an accident. And you talk about this ain't Mickey Mouse. Since when is Mickey Mouse bad? Mickey Mouse is very very wealthy. So
uh,
I'll be Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I know that was our slogan back when we won the World Series. Is everybody does these all little things and they try to be cool. And we said this ain't no Mickey Mouse, and we wrote it to a World Series victory. So
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
you have to have it better be an excuse like that if you're gonna say it. I'm with you. Shout
Okay.
out to Jake Cobian and Dave Benito. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in on the program today. Let's start with Indiana before we get to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Really cool, Ian, to see that in a 12-team college football playoff the Indiana Hoosiers are in there. And listen, I don't hate their matchup, man. I think they got a good shot to make some, to do some damage here.
Yeah, I saw when there was a possibility that they would play Notre Dame. That's a no brainer. You know what I mean? That's just interstate rivalry. They hate each other, although they don't play each other. I've watched a lot of Notre Dame football because I probably had money on them or against them. Um, Notre Dame has what it takes to beat Indiana.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're good in the trenches. Like Indiana could play with anybody on the outskirts. They can run with anybody. Their DBs are cool. But when you talk about big physical play inside, like Ohio State and Michigan had, it gave Indiana problems. So I'm just hoping they figure out a way to beat Notre Dame because I already told Marcus, my son, if they beat Notre Dame, we're going to New Orleans to watch them play Georgia. You can't stop me.
Nah, that would be so great, man.
Yeah, it would.
Oh, surprised that Alabama didn't get picked. They kept them out for SMU.
No, I mean, let's listen, okay? You feel bad for a team like Florida State that goes undefeated and they don't get in, okay? If you put a team in with 3 losses, why do we play the season?
Right.
What we play the season for?
Right.
You lost 3 times, and I watched them look like garbage at least twice. They don't deserve. I don't care what your name is. Like Indiana had to go over and above to get in. Okay, Indiana couldn't get in with 2 losses. Nobody should get in with 3 losses. Period. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
I'm with you, man, and it's good, but still, until that SMU tile came up on the screen, you just don't know, Ian. We've talked about this for years because it's all about what? It's all about the
Money.
money, man. Follow the dollar. So if there's a team that get in with 3 losses, would I be surprised if it was Alabama? No, but I'm glad that meritocracy kind of, listen, SMU lost in the championship game. And if you get into the habit of these teams being in before the championship game and then losing in the championship game and getting knocked out, these teams are going to decline playing it. We don't want that. We want this to be decided on the field, and it should be a reward for playing in the championship game, not a possibility of you harming the rest of your season. Let's talk about this Buccaneer win over the Raiders yesterday. What is it about a team that they can start the game looking so good, 14-0. They play probably their cleanest first quarter of football all year long, and then it just goes off the rails. For all the talk about the coaching and the players, like how do they get into that mode of where everything seems to be great? They're firing on all cylinders, and then it just goes to hell in a handbasket before they can kind of round it back into form in the fourth quarter.
Well, a lot of it has to be put on the Raiders as well, okay? Because the Raiders are out there. The Raiders are trying to stop them from scoring, and that's part of the game plan. The Buccaneers came out with a game plan. They scored real quick. The Raiders made some adjustments, and then it got a little bit harder. If I asked you what the Buccaneers do consistently, I'm not sure what your answer would be. So we how many complete games have the Buccaneers played this year? They maybe Detroit, Philadelphia, that's a long time ago.
Right.
They really play like this. They play in spurts. There's times where Baker Mayfield looks like he's the worst quarterback, and there's times where he's the best quarterback. But at the end of it, I think Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. There's times where the Buccaneers look like in the middle of that game, I was like, this is not good. I don't know how many times I've said this year, if we were playing a good team, we would be losing. Okay? But then they end up winning the game. And then we play good teams and we play well. So it's hard to dog out this Buccaneer team. Like they won 3 games in a row, but considering, it's the Raiders and the Giants and Carolina, it's not time to have, a parade yet. but they always figure out a way to play up or down to their the level of play. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I just don't.
Yeah, it's almost like if they play up to the level of the competition, well, it should bode well for them in the playoffs in that aspect because all the teams are going to be good. But you're right. I mean, the fact that they can't play a full 60 minutes, that's got to concern you. It's got to be one of those things where you look at and you got to be able to try to put things together. And it's only going to get harder as they travel cross country to take on the Chargers. And that's a team that you and I know they were focused, and Jim Harbaugh knew it was going to take a little while, but he drafted Joe Alt out of Notre Dame to go alongside Rashawn Slater. He's got Justin Herbert not turning the football over. I feel like this is going to be a real test coming up this Sunday for a team that is built the way that successful teams are built, from the inside out.
Yeah, and good teams figure out ways to win, and the Buccaneers have figured out ways in the latter part of the season, at the beginning as well. Like, I hear a lot of people asking for Todd Bowles' head. Well, I tell you what, I don't know if there's a coach that has overachieved more than Todd Bowles in the last few years, because every one of our stars go down. Every one of our stars, but both our receivers went down. We're still here. Both of our safeties go down. We're still here. The great Joe Tryon-Shoyinka goes down, and we're still here. So, I mean, Todd Bowles figures out ways to make a roster that's not that talented into a competitive roster. Brock Bowers yesterday, we didn't even hear his name for the first
Right.
4 quarters. So that has to do with Todd Bowles and his scheme. So I like to give people credit when credit's due. I just don't think Todd Bowles gets enough credit.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how after the game yesterday, it's nothing about how they contain Brock Bowers. It's nothing about Todd Bowles and having the team ready to jump out to a 14-point lead. It's all about the injuries. Like, he doesn't get any of the credit when they win. He's the first guy to get blamed when they lose. Concern over Bucky Irving's now third different injury this year. I know you and I have been speaking about this, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on in the show. For all those people that were just clamoring, we got to see more Bucky. We got to see more Bucky. I've been very staunch in, he's a rookie. Calm down. He's not a big guy. Rachaad has proven that he could play 17 games. And even Rachaad, he was injured a couple weeks ago, but he bounced back and he has no lingering injuries. Ian, that's 3 injuries for a guy that's not too big. Any long-term concerns this season about Bucky Irving's injuries?
Well, just like I just gave Todd Bowles his, credit for what he doesn't get, Rachaad White, I'm going to give him some credit, okay? Because there's people that wanting to give away his starting position. His numbers have been pretty damn good this year. There was one play I saw him, run in front of Baker, come across the line of scrimmage, pick up a block. Those are things you just don't see all the time, okay? And Rashaad's always doing that. He's always present. Yeah, I don't hear him bitching and moaning when he doesn't get the ball. Everybody wants more Bucky Irving, and I get it. You know what Bucky Irving is? Bucky Irving is that dime piece at the club that everybody wants. And Rachaad White is that 7.5 who can cook, clean, and take care of your children. Okay, so I like to go to that more reliable one myself. You guys can get out, not you special, but people get gaga over that 10 because it looks good, it's glistening. But it's the long and short of it, Jay. And this is not just Bucky Irving. This is all of them. Don't get excited over running backs. Okay, and that's not me being negative. There's one running back and Derrick Henry who makes a difference right now. Christian McCaffrey's never going to be the same.
Saquon.
Yeah, Saquon, okay, but Saquon's been like this in his career, okay, and Saquon.
But he's dealt with injuries too.
That's what I'm saying, though. So, and what has it led to? Okay, it has to lead to something, and Bucky Irving is a 5'9", 180-pound rookie who has had 3 injuries, which individually would be a lot. Okay, so if I say to you, Jay, how much stock would you be in? Would you put in us talking about Bucky at this time of next year? I wouldn't put a cent into it because running backs come and go, but Rachaad stays. He's always there. I gotta give him his flowers because I know he's out there busting butt, and he was one of our best players the last 2 games.
Ian, I was there after the game yesterday, and I'm looking Mike Evans walk into the locker room. I looked at Mike Evans walking out of the locker room. Didn't look too happy yesterday. Neither did Baker Mayfield. And these are 2 guys that they're not just looking at this game going, we're glad we won. We're glad we're in first place. I know it's hard to say because you weren't there, but what is it about those two guys do you think that they look at that game yesterday going, that wasn't enough, we need to be better?
Well, I think Mike Evans especially knows what it looks like. Okay,
Mhm.
Mike Evans knows what a championship team looks like, and he also knows what a pretender looks like.
Right.
And we're a team that's winning games, but I haven't looked. But if you think the Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl, put money on them right now because I guarantee the numbers up there pretty high. You're going to get your money back. But like I said, I don't know what the Buccaneers are doing to make you think they're going to win a Super Bowl. So winning a game is great. I mean, there's times where the Buccaneers were 3-0, and I've been on the radio and I was like, enjoy it for now because it's going to go the other way
Right.
because we're not doing this, and this. And the next game you lose, and you lose another game, you lose another game. And I think Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield have both been around long enough to realize that if they don't clean up some of this dumb crap that they're doing, and they're doing some dumb crap,
Mhm.
that there's the little things. They're doing some big things, like our special teams, like our punter is going to lose a game for us. Like
Right.
who was that guy yesterday? I'm a better punter than all the guys they put out there this year. So that's going to hurt the Buccaneers eventually. So there's a lot of little things, but there's some big things as well.
Yeah, and that's a little nerve-wracking is because I think he knows, I think you put it well really there. Not only does he know what it looks like, he knows what it doesn't look like right there. And
Yep.
and I just don't know if they've done a really great job of consistently getting Mike involved in the offense. I mean, you look at the statistics from the game yesterday, and in that game, Mike Evans was targeted 5 times, 4 catches on 69 yards. I mean, they threw the ball 29 times, Ian. They ran the ball 26 times. So we always talk about it's not always how much you rush for, but the amount of carries, right? So hey, you run for 152 yards. This team is turning into a little bit of a running team, but Mike Evans only targeted 5 times and having 4 catches for 69. You got to think there's probably a little bit more. There's probably some meat left on the bone when it came to getting Mike involved in this game yesterday.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to watch a game on television and evaluate, where the ball should go. Like
Mhm.
literally, you have to sit there and watch all 22, and because we don't know the scheme that the Raiders came up with against the Bucks, because McMillan all of a sudden he's catching the ball a little bit more. That's because probably they're rolling the coverage over to Mike.
Right.
If I say in the game before the game against the Buccaneers, who can beat you? Everybody's going to say Mike Evans,
Right.
right? And then, if I say about the Raiders, who can beat you? Everybody's gonna say Brock Bowers.
Mhm.
And they both were almost eliminated from the game. So maybe we have to be applauding the defense and the schemes more so because when Baker forces it to Mike and throws a pick, we all say don't force it. Okay? Because Baker's been forcing the ball, not so much to Mike, but there's been a couple other throws where Baker is turning into Jameis Winston. Okay,
Mhm.
there's 2 or 3 plays a game. I'm like, no. Like as the ball's coming out of his hand, I'm going, no.
Mhm.
The little screen, was it the screen interception? I think it was yesterday, but
Yeah.
just little things. I was like, that is a rookie mistake. Bail yourself out. And I think he sometimes his brain goes too fast, as does Jameis Winston's in certain situations, and he does too much. And I think he's got to kind of harness that in a little bit.
I got a chance to speak to Tristan Wirfs yesterday, and man, he's just such a great guy to talk to. And we were asking him, what did you learn from last year to help you to this year? Um, Not taking a shot at you, but I know you didn't have a ton of success when it comes to winning ball games in your career. But what is something that you could take from one year to like? Do you think that this Buccaneers team learned from last year when they kind of did the same thing, where they took a dip in the middle of the year and then at the end of the year they were able to fight back and to make the playoffs? Like, can Tristan Wirfs and those guys like? You could say that. You could say, yeah, we did learn, but is there proof now because they've won these 3 games that they did learn from last year that they have to have belief in themselves and they can't go into the absolute crapper and give up on the season?
I don't believe in all that, Jay. To be honest with you, like
That's why I
this is
ask.
yeah, this is a completely different football team.
Mhm.
It's a completely different year. It's a complete. I mean, everything is different. If it was the same team as last year, it still wouldn't be the same team because everybody'd be a year older.
Right.
So I don't. I think individually, Tristan Wirfs can learn from his experience last year and get better individually. But as a group, I don't think they're any better or they've learned from anything. It comes down to I think everybody makes football into being rocket science, and in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. The good football teams are the teams that have a lot of good football players.
Right.
Period. I mean, right now the Buccaneers, if I say give me a player that everybody wants on other teams, Vita Vea, Levante David still, Tristan Wirfs,
Evans.
Kalisa Kancey, Mike Evans would be on the outskirts of it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of teams that wouldn't take Mike Evans right now because they got two guys that are younger and
Hmm.
faster, and that's not downplaying Mike Evans, but he's not at his best right now. But when the years that you go to the Super Bowl or you're going deep in the playoffs, I say which guys are good? All of them. Like,
Yeah.
they're almost all good at all positions. So I just don't know if we're that right now. We're not getting enough pass rush. The ball's not getting out quick enough. We don't have enough other than Mike Evans. Kate Otten's kind of disappeared a little bit. So we're winning, but I just need to see some more consistency.
2 sacks yesterday coming from Levante David and Kayvon Merriweather, who stepped up really well in Antoine Winfield Jr.'s absence. Yeah, I mean, the outside pass rush, just not enough. I mean, you look at Yaya Diaby, that's a guy that I called on Friday, needed to be better. 2 sacks this year. This is a guy that, 10, 15 sacks, people were saying that he was going to be that good. Real quick, I did see Warren after the game yesterday walking around down in the tunnels, and I wished him the best. He had a hell of a year with the Colorado Buffaloes. Amazing with him joining up with Dion, how good that defensive line became when he was out there. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about Juan Soto. $765 million. Just try to put that into words. When you hear a professional athlete making that much money, he's made more money. I thought it was Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes combined, or no, it was Tom Brady and LeBron James. Juan Soto's deal is going to give him more money than Tom Brady and LeBron James made in their lifetime when it comes to their contract.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Mr. Soto and his great, 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 great grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My business partner, Tom Ponzo, he said, "Did you hear about Juan Soto's contract?" I go, "No, how much did you get?" And he gave me the numbers, and I do numbers pretty well in my head. And I go, "That's more than 50 for 15 years?" What baffles me is at one point they probably offered him 10 years, 500. He said no. Like,
Yeah,
where,
right.
you know, when I played for my rookie year, Jay, 90,000. Okay. You, you're going to pay, because he's not going to be playing in 15 years. You got to be paying a guy for 50 million for numerous years. That should tell you how much they're making. That should
Right.
tell you how much professional sports is making. They don't show us their books, but if you can pay a guy an extra 5 years, 50 million down the way, they're making oodles and oodles and oodles of money.
If that's what he said yes to, what did he say no to? Right? Like,
That's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying,
he
though. I
said
mean,
it said they wanted, like, the Yankees offered him 760 a year more, and he was like, "Nah, you know what? I want $4 million more," and blah blah blah. And it's
how
like,
dare you?
but it's, I mean, hey man,
God bless them.
to make that much money, right? I mean, and then you're the Yankees. Like, think about that. You're the team that didn't spend that money now. So now you kind of have that money where you're like, oh, I was going to spend it on one guy. You could spend half of that on 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys. I mean, it's kind of crazy the way that sports have changed when it comes to how much money and how much it's grown. And that's why nobody wants to hear from somebody like Stu Sternberg when he's like, yeah, I'm taking a loss on my P&L sheet. Like, nobody wants to hear from that
Yeah,
whole thing.
I love when people say, well, no athlete is worth that much money. Actually, nobody is worth as much money as the owners are making. A
Right.
lot of athletes and most athletes are worth more money because if they're going to pay them the money, they're worth more than that. Think about that for a second. You're not going to pay somebody 50 million unless it equates to over $50 million in money, and I guarantee they can bring that ledger out, and it'll be more than $50 million a year that Juan Soto's bringing to his team.
You got that right, buddy. And shout out to Jeff Taylor. This takes me back. Love Ian J. Jeff, we love you too. In the trenches, let everybody know when they can hear it, brother.
Yeah, man, you can hear it after this one. You guys will get all my good stuff, and then I already actually taped it. But In the Trenches should be out sometime this afternoon, and it's in all everywhere that podcasts are. And come visit us over here at the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore. Good place to watch a football game and hang out with some old school Buccaneers and even the great Jay Recher sometimes.
Oh yeah, buddy. You know, if there's an away game, there's a good chance that I am over at the Digs. All right, brother. I appreciate you. I'll be over there probably sometime this week. We'll talk soon. Always appreciate
All
your
right,
time.
brother.
Thanks, buddy.
One love.
Peace out.